In this video, we're going to be checking out what I'm using on my mix bus. But before we get started, my name is Ed. You're watching Stokes Sounds. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and leave a comment. And if you want to support the channel, head over to our website, stokessounds.com. Now let's dive in. I've got a track here and it's by an artist called Olivia Nicole. And it's a cover of Push to Start, which was a big track on TikTok. So I thought, why not break this down? But the main thing that I'm looking at for this mix is kind of what I'm using on my mix bus. Now, to me, the mix bus isn't for kind of fixing things in the mix, it's to enhance things in the mix. And you know, there's a little bit of things that I'm doing to enhance, but let's just take a listen to the track itself so we can hear what we're working with, and then we're going to break down what I'm using on the mix bus.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and at me. Push to start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation now.
So you can hear the feel of the track. Now my mix bus stays the same no matter what genre or whatever I'm mixing. You know, the settings within the plugins may change, but the fundamentals of my mix bus, you know, why I'm doing it, what I'm doing, the order of the mix bus, that does, you know, stay the same to keep consistency between all of the mixes that I do. And also just because it's, you know, my go-to process, I feel comfortable with it. I like those plugins. I like what those plugins do. And so I just roll with it. Now let's take a listen with the mix bus on and off so you can hear what it's doing.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and at me. Push to start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation now.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to load up the plugins one by one, but I'm going to keep the limiter on just for kind of volume consistency so we can really hear what the plugins are doing. So the first plugin I've got loaded up is the Slate Virtual Tape Machine. Out of all of the tape emulations I've used, the Slate one seems really good to me and I really like it. It has a really nice kind of tone, kind of a bottom end to it, which just makes the mix sound warm. So I kind of tend to start with that and I tend to mix into it. As I go through this process of the mix bus, I do add different parts of the mix bus depending on where I am in the mix. So I'll, you know, get a balance of the mix, put the tape machine on, mix into that, and then I'll bring in the other plugins as I get further on into the mix and depending on what stage I'm at. But the first thing I've got is this tape machine, and this tape machine, if I just A/B it so you guys can hear what this is doing in the mix itself.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and at me. Push to start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation.
It's very subtle, but it just makes it a bit fuller sounding. There's a bit more bottom end to it. What I do though is I do go to the settings at the noise reduction and take it all the way down. I don't want any noise or any of that sort of stuff on the, you know, on the recording itself. I don't know why they add noise and plugins. It kind of, I never ever want that. But you know, as you can see, I'm kind of hitting around 1.0 VU, and that's kind of part of my gain staging. And so that's why I use this plugin first. And then after that, I then go into some Dangerous Backs EQ, and this plugin is kind of where I do like a high pass filter. So, you know, this is an acoustic song, so I don't need any of the really low lows. If I'm doing hip hop, I may kind of bring this kind of cut to maybe 12 or 18, but in this case it's 24, just because I really don't need that low bottom end in a song like this. But this is kind of my security EQ. So, you know, sometimes when you get a mix and there's too much bottom end in it and, you know, it can be a bit muddy or you can't get it quite loud enough, having an EQ like this where you're doing a high pass filter and a little bit of a low pass filter, the, you know, the bottom and the top, it kind of just adds that sense of security that your mix is going to be in a ballpark place of where, you know, as long as you get your levels right, because that is the main thing, you know, you're not going to have any kind of bottom end too much and too much high end and that kind of stuff. It's a bit like a smiley face EQ, that old school trick. But I'm just using the Dangerous Backs EQ for this, adding a bit of brightness as well. But let's just have a listen with this plugin on and off and you can, you know, hear what that's adding to the mix.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation.
So you can hear there, you know, it's again very subtle. I'm doing very minimal processing on the mix bus, and I like it like that. I don't want my mix bus to save the mix. The mix bus should just be complementing the mix and enhancing what I have, and you know, a little bit of kind of security EQ as well, as I like to call it. But you know, you can see there, it's just a little bit of a smiley face EQ and some roll-offs at top and bottom just to control it. And then after that, I then go into a compressor, and I love using the SSLG compressor. This is the UAD version. The Waves version is also good, but this one just sounded good to me, so it's in my template, so I went with it. 2:1 ratio, a medium attack, and I like the auto release. Again, this will change depending on the song. If I've got like a song where it's very kind of drum heavy and I want to get those transients, I'll do the fastest release possible because it brings those drums forward. But again, in this style of track, you just got to play around it and kind of glue it. I want it to be more glued, and the auto release on the SSL, that has a really nice glue. The way it works is different to how other plugins seem to work, you know, different compressors. I shouldn't be doing more than 4 dB of gain reduction. Any more than that is just too much, but I go through it very lightly. Let's take a listen with this on and off and you'll hear what it's doing.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and at me. Push to start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination.
You can hear there, it's just gluing it ever so slightly, and it's just enough. Again, I don't want to overpower this. I just want to just do kind of small little stages that's going to complement the mix overall. Then what I do is I then go to the BXV3. I'm using the Plugin Alliance version here, and I'm just taking out certain frequencies that I just don't like. So, you know, I do most of the things within the stems itself, you know, all the EQ, and then when all of the stems are playing together, you may get a build up of around kind of 200 to 300 hertz, you know, or a little bit of sharpness. You can see around 2.5K, that kind of stuff. So I use this very subtle. You can see it's on the most narrow bell shape EQ possible, and I'm doing, you know, -1 dB. If I'm doing more than -1, -1.5 maybe, then I'll go back within the mix itself and try and sort it out, because if you're doing kind of big moves on the mix bus, it means there's a problem within the actual mix itself. So I never ever really try and save my mix with this at all. It's just pure, just subtle things just to do kind of little nice touches to the overall mix. So if we have a listen with this on and off, you'll hear what it's doing.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and at me. Push to start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation now.
Again, you probably can't really hear that difference at all, but if I just kind of solo the frequencies that I'm taking out of -1 dB, you can see it's just very, very subtle. When there's, you know, too much of something and it pokes out slightly, it's just, you know, taking that slightly out. Again, -1 dB, and I've got a little stereo spread going on at 110, so it's just 10% of spread. Again, just making it a little bit wider than I had it. The guitars are panned in this left and right, but this is just, again, just adding that final touch. And then after that, I then go into Ozone, and the Ozone, I have nothing going on. It's just in my template. Sometimes I will use a dynamic section just to control some bottom end, or some dynamic EQ again if there's something poking out. But in this case, there is nothing going on, so I didn't use it. And then I use the old school Oxford Inflator. Again, one of those plugins I've probably been using for the last 10 years. It just sounds great. I still don't really know what this plugin does, but every time you put it on something, it makes it sound like I know what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. But this plugin, it kind of just really does, you know, enhance the mix, and it allows me to kind of get a bit of volume as well before I go into my limiter. If we just take a listen with this on and off, you'll really hear what that's doing.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and at me. Push to start. destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation.
You know, I'm adding a little bit of volume there, and I'm getting around kind of the lights around 3. Billy Decker, great mixing engineer, always said, you know, as long as you hit 3 lights on the Oxford Inflator before your limiter, you're going to be in a good shape for the mix. So that's kind of what I've always kind of gone with. Around 3 is kind of the sweet spot on this plugin for me anyway. And then after that, I then go into a limiter. We've been listening with the limiter on the whole way through just for consistency of volume between the plugins. So it's, you know, a fair kind of comparison. This limiter, again, I change it from time to time, but I always seem to use the all-round style with the Pro L2. It sounds great, got true peak limiting on, and I'm oversampling at 32 just to give me the best results possible. I keep it at 0.1 so I'm not getting any clips and overs, and then I'm just driving it, and I'm probably getting around between -9, 10. With acoustic style music, I don't tend to have an integrated LUFS of kind of -6 in the loud kind of mastering stage, just because it doesn't need it. It sounds good, and I don't want the limiter to have, you know, such a big kind of mess of the sound of the overall mix itself. I don't want to push it too hard. I just want it just to be kind of within reason. You know, it's an acoustic style song, and so you don't want to push it too much. But if we have a listen with this on and off, there will be a volume difference, but you will hear what it's doing.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and up me. Push the start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we're going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we're going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation now.
So, you know, a little bit quieter than I normally would go, you know, if I'm doing a hip hop style track, or, you know, a kind of a pop track with a lot of kind of stems and, you know, big productions and all of that, then, you know, I'm going to be hitting around -6 LUFS integrated. That's kind of the aim that I get for, to be competitive with loudness. But as I said, with this kind of style of music, it just doesn't need it. That's why it's around that. You can just play around with the all-round, transparent, dynamic, all of that sort of stuff. Play around, see what you like. It's not about what I like, it's about what you like at the end of the day. But I tend to go with the all-round setting. And then I just have extras that I'm not using, but these are just other tracks that I like the sound of, and I've kind of A-B'd it, referenced it, and this is just the Plugin Alliance A-B. And then I've got the PAS Analyzer, and that's just kind of giving me an overall image. I tend to kind of want a slope going down, and that kind of means that I'm in the ballpark of where I want the mix to be. But that's not affecting the actual sound of the actual mix itself. That's just kind of meters. If I am doing something that's got a lot of transients in and something that needs to control before the limiter, I will add a clipper. Now I use 2 clippers, one that's a standard clip, or I'll use the T-Rax clipper, which is another favorite of mine. Again, I'll use these 2 plugins, and they're just so I can control the peaks, you know, the transients. You know, if anything's going to hit the limiter hard, like kicks, snares, anything like that, then I will control it on the mix bus, and sometimes on the drum bus too. But in this case, it's acoustic. I didn't need it, and so that's why I haven't done that. So if we just have a listen now, again with the mix bus on and off, you'll really hear what that is doing to the overall mix itself.
Only serve it up if you deserve me. Pull up and up me. Push the start. Pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we're going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation. Now pushing on my buttons with no hesitation. Gas me up, give me motivation. So tell me where we're going, pick a destination. Gas me up, give me motivation now.
And that's it. That's my mix bus. And, you know, as I say, it stays the same for every genre of song that I work on. There might be some minor changes. Maybe, you know, as I say, added the clipper in or take the clipper out. But, you know, in the ballpark, I tend to do some saturation first, some EQ just to control the low end, then some compression, and then some final EQ just to take out some kind of frequencies that are just resonating a little bit too much. Then I'll go into the Ozone, and sometimes I'll use some dynamics, maybe an exciter just to brighten it up. Oxford Inflator just to add a little bit more volume. Then the clipper would then come next before the limiter if I was using the clipper, but in this case I'm going straight to the limiter, and that's just to give me some kind of volume to bring it up to a mastered level. But you can see I'm not doing too much. I'm very kind of keeping it very simple and not kind of overthinking my process on the mix bus, because I really don't want the mix bus to change the way my mix is. The mix bus is just complementing my mix. But that's it. That's my mix bus chain, and I will be using that across most of the mixes I'll be working on this year. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you've got any questions about kind of the mix bus process, you know, all of that great stuff, then put it in the comments below, and I'll make sure that I'll get back to all of you. And I'll see you again next week for another video.